I head the OECD Center for Skills, and that's a center that looks into the development and use of skills, and we do skills analysis and support also countries, governments, and other stakeholders in terms of the development of their skills strategies and vocational education and training in particular. So I just wanted to start with a little bit the trends that are reshaping skills use and development. And what you can see here is very much those three large mega trends, as we call them. So very much aging societies in European countries and OECD countries at large. And just putting a couple of numbers, that's really how we work at the OECD, is we use data to develop evidence-based policies. And so just a number here showing you that by 2080, persons aged 65 and above will outnumber children under 18. So really a reversal really of what has been happening in the past. Then we have, of course, what we call the twin transitions, so the digital revolution and the green transition, and with both opportunities and risks. So the green transition, we considered that about a quarter of jobs will be strongly impacted by the net zero transition across OECD countries. Impact is important. It means both positive and negative. And the digital revolution, we just looked at, we did a year ago, we did some study on AI professionals, and you can just see how the demand has really surged and increased by more than 30% in the past, over 3 years in 14 OECD countries that we looked at, but that goes beyond. And then really what you can see is that these are happening as well within an overall context of competitive labor market and involving skill demands, where you have also other trends happening and sort of deglobalization and some of the issues around trust and so on that I will also go in. So that's really the environment and the context in which we find ourselves. When we're trying to bridge solidarity and competition, what I was trying to see is that really I do think that we can look into them as collaboration. And so again, going into some of these trends, if you look at technological advancement, we see that close to 30% of jobs will be at high risk of automation across OECD countries. So that means really disruption in the labor market and what that will entail in terms of solidarity and competition. We also have the issue of skills adaptability. This is another number from another institution, the World Economic Forum, that considers that close to 45% of worker skills will be disrupted over the next 5 years. So really, again, a changing environment and, of course, with opportunities. And when you look into generative AI, it really is expected to increase the global economy exponentially, really close to $4 trillion. And all of this is happening, and I think it does have an impact when we're talking about solidarity and collaboration, is that we do at the OECD a survey on trust in government, and that only 39% of OECD countries have a high or moderately high trust in national government. So that, I think, is particularly important because that means really all of these changing happening where you have a different perception of the role of institutions and the care they may be providing or not to citizens. Now, when we talk about collaborations, what we see, however, is that the collaborative problem skills have been lagging in many OECD countries. This is a graph, and you can see in black is the OECD average. Is that really the top performance on the right axis? Is that those kind of skills are not necessarily really that developed, and that's something that we really need to look into when we're looking into educational and training systems. So when we're talking about the skills for the future, what we see is that we've usually defined the skills in the OECD as the foundational skills. So that's very much the literacy, numeracy, digital skills. Then you have the transversal cognitive and metacognitive skills. You have, of course, the professional, technical, and specialized knowledge and skills. And then very important, the social and emotional skills. And what we consider as the future in the 21st century is really a combination of all of these skills to be able to engage in society, in the labor market. And so for us, it really is this holistic view that is particularly important. Now, why are social, emotional, and foundational skills particularly important? It goes back to this idea of navigating uncertainty I was mentioning at the beginning in terms of the context, and really the need to enhance the adaptability and resilience of people. And also because we are in this multicultural world, and it's amazing to see that from the audience, we have audience going from the Caribbean to Africa to Europe, really showing how much we need to collaborate effectively in diverse teams. So really very much these 21st century skills linked to better life outcomes, including academic success, but not only. It really, the holding and mastering these skills lead to greater life satisfaction, less in the school environment, less test and class anxiety, and more ambitious career plans. So we see that when this happens very young, and we look into this very young age as well, that this has an impact over time. Now, not only for living better, if you will, but also the employers themselves are starting to recognize the importance of these social emotional skills. So we looked, for instance, at the AI job postings in the study I was mentioning before, and we looked at the vacancy announcements on these for these jobs, and of course there's the request for particular technical skills, but very interestingly, a lot of these online vacancies were mentioning communication, leadership, management, a lot of these social emotional skills as needed for those particular very technical jobs. So very interesting to see that even in those areas that are considered mostly technical, those skills are required, are also being looked for. And when we look into the green transition, the same thing, when we see that those jobs that will be changing, we see as well that complex problem solving skills, social skills, resource management skills are very much required as well and called for in those also green. So if you look into the jobs of the future, digital and green, you can see that social emotional skills are being recognized already as being central for those. I was mentioning now this research, which is looking at reviewing articles and really trying to see scholar articles about how social emotional skills have an impact on life satisfaction, on health, on civic engagement. And you can see that in every plus sign, the more plus signs you have, the more important the correlation, the link is. So empathy, for instance, social problem solving, assertiveness, emotional intelligence, all of these are considered through the literature as leading to life satisfaction, better health, and more civic engagement, particularly civic engagement, of course, very important for this issue around solidarity. We can put socio-emotional skills at the heart of learning. We can really look into it in terms of the school curriculum. And I put here two examples, one from British Columbia in Canada, where they have adapted this big ideas model, where it's really about the curriculum redesign, which emphasizes really the concepts of and fundamental ideas across various subjects. In Singapore as well, they have a dedicated character and citizenship education, which is designed to build good character, resilience, future readiness, and very important for this particular discussion, active citizenship among students. So you can very much develop those skills through either a dedicated subject, but also within the subject matters that you see here. So if you look at, for instance, critical thinking as one of the areas that we would like to develop, you can see that you can develop that area in national language, in mathematics, in humanities, in science, in technology. Same thing with empathy, if you look at. So you can develop through the traditional, if you will, type of subject matters, you can develop those social emotional skills. So we can revise and revisit the curriculum around that. And then, of course, there's no talk today without talking about AI. So I thought I have to address it. And so what we see is that despite its risk, and I think the risks are very, very real, AI has the potential to drive productivity and have a positive effect on job quality in this very competitive and changing world. So, for instance, there have been some case studies and some small trials and looking at AI tools where we could see that the AI could improve performance or sometimes up to 50% of the time in customer service, coding, writing, and consulting. So it could, in specific areas, really bring to more flexible, tailored, and diverse, and more fulfilling as well type of work. And but and again, there are other risks, but I think what is important, what we've seen in these studies, is that realizing these changes very much depends on workforce adaptability and holistic skill set, but also an increased focus on social emotional skills. And so I think that's really something that when we're looking into the future. Now, one of the issues when we're talking about social emotional skills is that they are not equally distributed. And so what we've seen in the social emotional skills survey that was done is that unfortunately disadvantaged students report is sort of have less creativity, tolerance, assertive curiosity, sociability, and empathy than the advantaged students. So there is also the issue of equity that we need to keep in mind in the conversation as well. And of course, the other challenge that we have is with regard to lifelong learning. And when we look into upskilling and reskilling, which is going to be very important in the middle of all of these changes, is that we have a lack of participation in adult training. And you can see that 4 in 10 adults only, on average, participate in job-related training across OECD countries. So really less than half. And sometimes even when they have the possibility of doing it. And again, the equity issue appears again because only 2 in 10 among those that don't have an upper secondary qualification or are above 55 years old participate in job-related training. So again, here, an issue of equity. And so what we've been looking at is really stakeholder engagement. That for us is particularly important when we're looking at skills development. And so we've been looking at utilizing multi-stakeholder platforms. So we develop skill strategy with countries that really look into the development and use of skills. We're looking at, there's international networks for skills and education policy that are extremely successful, like such as the European Skills Agenda is Pact for Skills. And then we also, of course, try to promote joint decision-making and co-creation, where we organize a skills summit with the ministers of education and labor, the skills advisory group that we have here internally, trying to really raise as well the issue of stakeholder engagement. And so I close by just trying to sort of my message that competitiveness and solidarity are not opposing force. I think they can be complementary drivers, but it really means investing in diverse skills and fostering collaboration. And I think with that, I'm done and I will stop sharing and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
So it's about solidarity versus competitiveness, which is interesting to me from a psychological point of view, in brief, of course. So it will be a glimpse into the psychological findings concerning solidarity versus competitiveness. And let me get straight into it. And I maintain right from the start that we are emotional beings. And even if we're working from a scientific background, and if you maybe, as me, are an intellectual self, I have to give you some bad news. Maybe it's not that bad. I mean, actually, I was offended when I was confronted with the findings that we are highly emotional all the time, where most of the time, or at least more often than you might think. I didn't like to be called emotional, and I had to give in to the psychological findings. And if you also do not like it that much to be emotional, I can say, welcome to the club. And I do not want to be alone in this club. So I try to get you in this club with a little help from a Nobel Prize winner with his work. Of course, unfortunately, he is not longer with us. He passed away in March this year at the age of 90. You probably know him. He was a great psychologist, brilliant, of course, and very funny too. Daniel Kahneman, you might have heard from him. I mean, I can recommend his book, of course, which is called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a book you can spend a lifetime with. And it's really worth your attention. I think it's very good to know a lot of things, and I assume that you already know a lot of things, but also good to feel, because you remember we are very emotional beings, and I want you to have some experiences in this webinar, and let's start with this kind of experience. And I want to introduce you to Daniel Kahneman. And of course, all of you have seen what you can see on this slide, this graphic. And you see two lines, and they are limited by arrows pointing towards each other or away from each other. And I want you to answer the question for yourself for the moment. Do you see, or do you know, that these two lines are equally long? Do you see it, or do you know it? Well, you can't see it. You can't see it. You have to know it. And that's the way Daniel Kahneman introduces the two systems within us. And there is fast mode and a slow mode we're working on. You can also call it autopilot and pilot. And let me tell you, most of the time we are on autopilot. That's quite fine, even if it is a little bit embarrassing at first, but most of the time we are on autopilot, which means when there are decisions, also there is a behavior. Our reactions most of the day are automatic, impulsive, spontaneous, intuitive, and that feels effortless, and that's a good feeling. But then there are questions you have to answer with your pilot, when you have to be conscious, when reflection is needed, when you need logical thinking, and that requires attention, willful control, and it costs a lot of energy, and it feels differently. And that's what I want you to experience now. So please warm up your hands, your palms, get in front of your keyboards, and I will show you some slides, one after the other. And I will ask for a short amount of time. And I ask you to write the answer. So I will ask you, what did you see? And please write as fast as you can into the chat what you have been seeing. So, ready? There's nothing. That's a test. And now, let's get started. What did you see? Please write into the chat right now. There's the chat. I will see. Okay, guys, this is fast. This is fast. This is really fast. Thank you very much. Kittens with weird eyes. All right, I agree. That is really fast. So please pay attention and check how you feel. Did this cost you a lot of energy? I don't think so. You didn't even change your posture, nothing. That was quite easy. You didn't need a lot of effort. And if I could look into the centers of your brain, I could see your centers for motoric actions activated because you're getting ready to stroke the kittens the moment you see it. And that's also very fast. That's the fast system. Okay, let's get another one. What did you see? Couple, hugs. Yeah, couple. Oh yeah, you are fast. This is your fast mode. And please check the way you're feeling, man and woman hugging. Yes, a couple which is hugging. And how fast was this? And you even had to type it. Love, yeah, there's an interpretation even. So there are lots of stimuli, but you have been working them out very fast. And please remind yourself the way you feel now. It's not a lot of effort. I have another one for you. So what did you see? What did you see? Right, yes. Arguing, yes, this is, no, it's the finger. It's the finger, yeah, I told you. Argument, fight, great. Very fast. How do you feel? Still easy going, I think. Okay, let's try another one. What did you see? Happy. Yeah, it's interpretation of a graphic. Happy emoji, exactly. Smile. 2 dots and a curve, whatever. A smile, yes, you interpret it, and it's so fast. And that's good. It's a great resource. All right. And then I want to result for this one. Thanks. You're not that fast at all, are you? Maths, I know. I know that you know that it's maths, and I know that you know it's a multiplication. You saw 136 times 98, but you cannot give me the result with your fast system. Cannot. You need a pilot. It's maths, I know, and it feels different. It feels different when you're sitting in front of your screen and telling me, listen, this is a calculation. I do not want to do it. All right, it feels different. Great, somebody figured it out. And you ask your pilot to do that for you. That wasn't your autopilot. It wasn't automatic. And it feels different. That's the important thing. I do not care if you can do multiplications or not. That's not important for me for now. For life, it is important maybe. But for now, just to remind yourself that it feels differently. One is easy, and the other one needs much more effort. Let's do another one. Please cross your arms. Always do. There is one. It's one smooth move. You just try it. Might feel quite nice, and then you do it the other way around, and it might feel different. It's not a big thing I asked you, but it feels different. It goes along with emotion, the one you're always doing, and then somebody tells you do it differently. And I didn't ask for much. I just asked for a change, a small one. So maybe when I show you this slide again, you have a connection to the emotions going with it, the state, the emotional state which is going with it. When we are on autopilot and we can give quick answers, they are intuitive, and you can be spontaneous and impulsive. It's easy. It doesn't cost much effort. When the pilot should come in, and there has to be conscious work to be done, reflection has to be done. You have to get more logical. More attention is required, and attention is always energy. And you do not have endless energy, as you do not have endless attention. You need your will, you need control, and it's demanding. It costs your energy. I skipped the definition of solidarity. I just want to give an insight from a psychological point of view, always depending on the context, of course. But in brief, emotions associated with solidarity, when we have positive, negative, and mixed ones, empathy, which showed up very quickly at the Menti. Then we have compassion, the concern for other suffering and motivating, supporting others. Positive emotion can also be pride, in the sense of accomplishing together with a group. Gratitude, which is very positive emotion, good for us, because if you want to reach a goal, you need gratitude at the end to start all over. Hope is also very fine, because there's optimism in it, and if you want to reach a goal, you need optimism. Otherwise, it's not very probable to reach a goal. And then we have the negative ones, which can be anger and fear, and the mixed ones, which are moral elevation and shared sorrows. In very brief, I know that every coin has another side. And I want to look at the emotions associated from a psychological perspective to competitiveness. And the positive ones, I put it, let's say, with a little question mark, because as I told you, every coin has another side. Achievement pride. When you are achieving something, you might be proud about it, and also excited. When you're in a tournament and you are the first one to cross the line, that's excitement. Can be very exciting. Determination. Flow is a very nice thing. It's a flow. You get into the flow when you have the ideal combination of challenge and skills you need for the challenge. Self-efficacy is very important. You set yourself a goal, and then you have all the skills and you activate them and you reach your goal, and that can be a very fine feeling. Of course, there are negative ones, individually seen. We have anxiety and status anxiety when you have reached a certain status and you're afraid of losing it. Envy. It's a double-sided coin again, because if you envy somebody's success, that's not a positive feeling. But when it fuels yourself to get to set a goal and to reach it, it has a positive side as well. Schadenfreude, which is a German word, but it exists in English. Of course, not at all positive. And then a mixed one, frustration. The thing is, when you're frustrated, that's not a nice feeling, of course. But the thing is, it's important how to deal with it. And when you're frustrated or you fail, and then you stand up and you learn something, and and there is resilience in it, then you're learning something. So frustration has also two sides. And that's the individual perspective, let's say. And as we are not only emotional, but also social beings, let's get some social psychology in here, because you do not only have your individual behavior, but collective behaviors. And they always reflect both solidarity and competitive dynamics. You know that cultural values, which are based on emotions, shape the balance between solidarity and competitiveness. And of course, socialization practices influence behavior in different contexts. And finally, I want to give you the individualistic versus the collectivistic point of view. You know, there are more individualistic societies. They prioritize personal autonomy and competition. And there are collectivistic societies, and they emphasize group solidarity and shared identity. And beneath this, there are two core psychological needs from the social determination theory. And one core need is to belong. I've seen that on Menti already, to belong, and to be independent as well. And it's great when you can have both at the same time. It's the mixture, I guess. Having said that, I want to remind you that some behavior comes more natural and is easier and is automatic. And when you want to change your behavior, or you want somebody else to change behavior, please take in consideration that this is a highly emotional topic. Thank you.